when you're ready, just find your comfortable seated position and just let yourself relax into the liminal space where we're not yet practicing, but we're no longer doing what we were just doing. In this liminal space, we're not trying to improve anything. We don't have intent. We don't have a practice idea that we're working with. It's just a kind of limbo state where we're not doing anything, nor are we preventing anything from happening. And so, generally speaking, naturally, the unconscious will stir when there's no conscious willpower. Unconscious is aware that practice is about to start and will start naturally preparing the system, bringing online usually the qualities that you've been working on and anything else that might have been stifled by whatever we were doing beforehand. And as the system prepares, there's generally a natural progression towards the beginning of practice. In your own practice, it's good to just let this naturally arise, however quickly or slowly it does. And you basically just wait until the intent to start the practice arises of its own accord. And so when you're ready, we'll start by unhooking awareness from all the thoughts and mental events occurring in the brain, kind of physically just behind the eyes. And let the awareness drain down into the body and soak through the body. And as you move from this orientation of having to refer to thoughts to do anything, you come into a more direct perception of things. Just notice that the awareness can move without referring to thoughts, without referring to mental events. The awareness can move and spread of its own accord. And so for now, just letting it spread through the body. And just notice that if you're referring to thinking, if you're referring to planning or analysis, you can just unhook the awareness from these mental events and sink back down into the body. If you're referring to conclusions about what you're doing, these are also mental events. Just unhook from these and soak back down into the body. Let yourself recognize that when you have direct awareness of sensory experience of the body, that there is no right or wrong. These kind of like good and bad and right and wrong and all the rest are products of mental events and conclusions. So as you come into the body directly, you simply are aware of the body. There's no more or less than that going on. Notice that despite this lack of judgment, or rather the discernment that the judgment is a mental event and not at all the same as a physical event in the body. As you discern this and you come directly into contact with physical sensory experience in the body, that there is a different type of knowing going on here. You know through awareness. You know the parts of your body not because your mind is labeling them or telling a story about them or anything like this. You know them simply because you feel them. This direct knowledge does not need to refer to thoughts, does not need a narrative or story. There's no need for judgment, right or wrong, good or bad. It simply knows whatever it touches because it has perceived it. Do not strain to maintain this directness. It is natural that the awareness will kind of habitually move back to referring to the mind. Rather, just practice repeating the cycle. As soon as you're referring to the mind, notice that you're referring to the mind and not directly to the body. Unhook awareness from the mind and let it come back into direct contact with the body, soaking through. Notice that what drives the movement between habitual reactions, habitual cycles, is not a conscious willpower. The conscious willpower cannot override the unconscious habit. No matter how much you will it today to sustain this saturation of direct awareness in the body, it'll be entirely up to the unconscious as to whether you stay in there or move back out into some other habitual way of referencing everything. Don't battle this. Don't go against it. Don't struggle against it. Just every time the agency returns to conscious willpower, repeat your cycle. Unhook from whatever you got distracted by, and let the awareness soak back down through the body. Notice that this process, unhook and sink into direct awareness of the body, does not need to refer to a thought or mental command to be achieved. The awareness itself can just unhook itself and move down into the body. Getting used to and clear on the distinction between mental commands initiating everything and awareness being able to move itself is a skill you want to practice. Whatever stage of these cycles you're up to, maybe in a moment of being kind of entangled with the thoughts, or in a moment of unhooking from there and sinking down into the body, or in a moment of direct awareness of the body. Whatever aspect you're enthralled in at the moment, just allow yourself to soften and release where you're aware of that from. Again, you don't need to refer to mental activity to understand where you're aware from. You all know directly where you're aware from, even though the mind can't really describe it effectively. Mind and the mental processes may call it a mystery. Whatever label it gives is unimportant. Just let where you're aware from soften and release. It can happen directly without referring to any of these thoughts that are trying to understand how it happened or what happened or where it happened. Softening and releasing where you're aware from. Working towards what you're aware of. The awareness saturating through the body. So you're directly aware of the body in ever increasing detail. So the cycle goes unhook awareness from thoughts and mental analysis, let it soak down and saturate the body. And then soften and release where you're aware from as what you're aware of saturates deeper and deeper into the body. And every time you get lost and distracted not by your own willpower, but by a movement of unconscious habituation, I should say. And so the moment the conscious willpower returns, simply repeat the cycle. Unhook from the mental events, saturate down into the direct experience of the body, soften and release where you're aware of that from. As the awareness is opening to the body directly, allow it to also open to the parts of the body that you can't feel. So just register the blank spots, the blockages like you know about, the little nooks and crannies you're aware that you can't soak into just yet. And then let the awareness open even further to include what you don't know you're not aware of. All of the mysterious other things going on in the body. There's trillions of cells and events of all kinds going on that we're simply not aware of, can't even fathom what it would be like to be aware of, and don't even know to look for. So just let yourself open to that mysterious, unknown part of what you're aware of. Softening and releasing where you're aware from. Repeating the cycle as needed. So the practice here is the repetition of the cycle, not the attempt to sustain it. It will be sustained or not by unconscious forces out of your control. So just let go of any attempts to sustain and practice repeating the process as necessary. Unhook from the mental events and let awareness soak directly into the body, letting the awareness notice the parts of your body you're aware of, the parts you know you're not aware of, and the parts you don't know you're not aware of. And then soften and release where you're aware from. Notice that this whole process can be undertaken without referring to mental commands, mental events, or conventional intent. In fact, the moment you notice you're using conventional intent, you are aware of a mental event, just unhook from this and sink down into the body, repeating your process. Let's add a layer in. Let the lower center, the lower dantian, somewhere in the middle of the lower abdominal cavity, assert its power. It has a naturally attractive power, everything being drawn towards it. And let it specifically draw the awareness down towards it, as if it were a giant awareness magnet or black hole that the awareness were being drawn towards. This is not, again, an action that the mind takes. It is a byproduct of letting go. As you stop holding, the center is already there. A little gravity well pulling everything towards it. repeating the cycle as regularly as you need. Unhook awareness from the mental events in the brain behind the eyes or above that. Let the awareness be drawn down and saturate through the body, anchored by the lower center. Allow the awareness to be open to the blank spots and the possibilities of things we don't even know we're not aware of. And then soften and release where you're aware from. Every time you get distracted, let yourself assume that this is a natural and critical part of the process. And so the process is already still underway. The anchoring is already done. The awareness is already free to operate. And these assumptions can simply help you unhook from the mind trying to work out what went wrong. Assume that nothing went wrong and this is a basic part of the process. This cycle, as it repeats, however many times it will repeat today and throughout your life until some point you don't do it again. Just got to run its course. There's no way to make it better than it already is, besides letting it repeat. The way it's running for you at the moment is already exactly as you need it to for your particular context, your particular life. And so you just keep cooperating with the process, let the distractions come whenever they do. At some point, we notice unhooking awareness from the mental events, letting the awareness be drawn down through the body by the center and anchored, letting the awareness open to the blank zones and the unknown factors, and then softening and releasing where you're aware from. Okay, next time you go through this cycle, unhooking from the mental events, letting the awareness be drawn down and anchored in the body by the center, and then softening and releasing where you're aware from. Now let where you're aware from merge with what you're aware of. And notice that it has been merged the whole time. Paradoxically, letting it merge allows you to notice this. The moment you notice you're caught in mental analysis, am I doing it right? Is this the right thing? I'm not sure of the effect. All of that is mental conjecture and analysis. Simply unhook awareness from it. Let the center draw the awareness down through the body to be saturated. Soften where you're aware from, and let where you're aware from merge with what you're aware of. Every time you find yourself trying to sustain the end of the cycle, just let go of that and allow yourself to repeat the cycle from the start. Notice that the attempt to sustain is simply more mental activity and you've already been distracted by it. So just as soon as this happens, unhook from all these ideas that it should have been sustained or should have been this or that or whatever. Unhook from this, at the center, draw the awareness down into direct contact with the body. Soften and release where you're aware from, and let where you're aware from merge with what you're aware of. Then let yourself let go of the practice of this cycle. It may continue running its own course, kind of as if it had momentum. When you move back into this liminal, no longer practicing, not quite doing post practice wrap up yet, not trying to achieve anything, no longer trying to repeat this cycle or prevent it from repeating, nor anything else, nor should anything else be indulged in or suppressed. Just allow yourself to exist however you're existing. There's no requirements for it to be other than it is. Mm. You'll slowly leave the practice and come into the next part. You can take your time to do any post practice stretches or things that you like to do, and we'll finish there.